guys, it's Ariana. Welcome back to my channel. So for today's video, we're going to be reading some more scary stories. As per usual, I have my wicked candle in here, making the whole room smell like caramel apples. And I have a bunch of spooky stories saved on my phone, and I'm really excited to get into them because I've had a lot of them saved since like the middle of October when I was trying to do 31 days of uploads, and obviously, as you guys know, that didn't work out because I got sick at the end of October. I still have all of the stories saved, so let's jump into them. It is from the Reddit author Loki_paranormal_6, and it's titled, Some of the Paranormal Stuff I've Dealt With. A little bit of info about me to kind of preface this. I am 18 and gender fluid, as well as a witch and a psychic and a medium. However you want to call it. I'm just really connected with the other side. And because of all this, I've been dealing with different types of spirits and energies my entire life. I even technically performed what would count as an exorcism when I banished wasn't evil, but it was a negative energy that needed help moving to the other side when I was about 13. I do have multiple spirits that do like to follow me around, as from what I believe, they see me as a safe person for them to be around. But anyways, I have a couple specific stories that I'm going to put in this post, ranging from when I was little, even a story from when I was a baby, to something that happened very recently. Story number 1. This one takes place when I was a baby. Like, not even crawling yet baby. Even though as a kid, I skipped right over the crawling stage, I'm talking before most babies start to crawl. My family got invited to a family friend's wedding that was taking place in a church. In the middle of the service, my dad had to take me to go change the diaper, and the bathroom was in the basement of the church. When we went down, as soon as we got to the basement, I would not stop crying, and he tried everything he could to calm me down. But when nothing worked, he just changed the diaper and went back upstairs. As soon as we crossed the threshold of the door that connects the ground floor to the stairs that went to the basement, I immediately went quiet. My dad got kind of freaked out and looked down to check to see if I was okay, and I was. He has told me that story and even said, though he doesn't believe in the paranormal, if there ever was a time where he would, that would be it. Story number 2. This one is just going to be a small collection of things that happened to me in the first house that I ever lived in because we moved in when I was 6. When we lived in that house, I had a major habit of sleepwalking and sleep paralysis. And every single time I got sleep paralysis, I would always see this really tall shadow figure that even when my eyes got adjusted to the darkness, there was literally nothing that I could see about it. It was just as if there was a human-shaped void in my room. And it was always either right in the corner of my doorway, never in the middle, always off to the side, or in the corner of my room. And whenever I looked at it, it would get a mix of panic and calm flush over me, which is weird, but that's the only way I can describe it. One night while I was sleepwalking, I ended up slapping my sister. Mind you, that only happened after she said, "Hey Loki, what are you doing up?" And then I walked away. Story number 3. When we had moved out of that house, we moved in with my grandfather. The house he owned was built in the 20s to the 40s. And so some stuff had happened, but no deaths or anything that I can remember. One night, when I was about 9 or 10, my parents were out on a date. I stayed up late on the family laptop in my room with the door open while my grandfather was in the living room in his chair sleeping, with all the animals with him. When suddenly, I heard loud stomps in the hallway balcony, and I sat for a minute listening, confused and slightly freaked out, and then just a few seconds later, I closed the laptop, jumped up, ran, and woke up my grandfather. While this was happening, the footsteps and stomps didn't stop until I woke my grandfather up. Like as soon as he jolted awake, it stopped completely. I explained to him what happened and he calmed me down and he went upstairs to check. To no one's surprise, there was no one up there. Later on, that spirit ended up giving me an image of what he'd looked like. It was a guy in his early 30s or 40s, dressed in military uniform with a heavy military boots with a gun in his hand. He had a big beard and long red hair, and he was a big guy. Very buff. And later on, he kind of communicated that he wanted dog tags, that he may have lost them or died right before he did. Really freaked me out, and now that I look back on it, I honestly feel bad for him because of what I believe happened. Story number 4. This is the last one that I'm going to tell, and this happened rather recently. Me and my parents moved out to the family farm, which is in the middle of nowhere in Northwest US. I ended up inviting one of my friends over to spend the night, and we decided to set up a tent in between the woods and the field where the cows like to roam around. That night, we both fell asleep rather early, but she ended up waking up around 2 in the morning, and I woke up around 3. She apparently heard something that she even said wasn't the cows because it was a completely different walking pattern than any cow that either of us have ever heard. And not only that, but she also heard talking, and it completely stopped when I woke up. Thing is, I had a really eerie feeling when I woke up, like something was out there that was not human or animal. She told me about the footsteps, but not the talking. So I pulled out my phone and I went onto YouTube, and I put on some funny videos I had saved to help us both calm down. Time seemed to fly super fast, and the next thing I knew, it was 5:30, 6 in the morning, and the sun was rising. The cows started showing up where we could see them, so we ended up getting up and putting everything together so we could go back to the house. When the cows started to show up, it seemed like something was upsetting them though. We tried to look out and see if we could see anything, but neither of us could. We ended up going to the house and just pretending it never happened. A couple weeks go by, and the same friend sent me videos of something tapping on the window in her room. Mind you, if something was there, we would be able to see it through the window, but there was no shadow. And apparently it had happened twice before, and she was able to get a video. As soon as she got the video, the tapping stopped. I heard tapping coming from the window on the opposite side of where I sleep, and I told her. She ended up telling me all of this and the fact that it happened in 3 groups and then stopped, and she finally told me that she heard talking as well. And I ended up properly telling her how I never go down to the farm area at night on my own. I only ever go with someone else because when I'm alone, I always feel like something is around that isn't human, and something is watching and waiting for the right time to attack me. Kind of like an SW or a Wendigo, but those aren't said to be close to where I live. I'm personally going to be moving soon, so I just pray that whatever doesn't follow me. And I do want to ask if anyone might know what this could be. So that's really creepy. So that was a mixture of just a bunch of things that they experienced, and that's just really freaking creepy. So thank you so much for allowing me to read your stories. And I am very curious, did you ever figure out what it was? Did you ever see it again? Did anything else happen? That's super freaking creepy. Oh my God, I hate that. So I'm gonna move over to the scary story section. This is from the Reddit author Juliana 120O, and it's titled The Man in the Hallway. Back when I was the age of 5, my brother and I moved into my grandmother's house. And I could say it was pretty much a full house. There was probably about 6 to 8 of us that was living in the house at one time. And I could say every one of us had pretty horrific experiences through the years. Before I get into any details about the story, I just wanted to mention the street I lived in used to be a cemetery before the city broke it down and built houses and apartments over it. The day I came across my first encounter with a dark entity is one that I'll never forget. One day, I was playing hide and seek with my brother, and after I went running around the house a few times looking for him in closets, rooms, and in the kitchen, I finally found him behind the couch right by this long, dark hallway that leads to the other rooms. When I found him, he was staring down the hallway, and he was pale. As I was going to ask him what was wrong, he pointed down the dark hallway, and what we saw was unexplainable. Down at the end of the dark hallway, there was a man standing right by my grandmother's bedroom door, staring directly at us. Around the man was a dark shadow covering him all around, and all we could see was his body and face. He was dressed as a farmer in ripped overalls and had blood all over his clothing, and his left arm looked like it had been blown off, as if he was in a war or at least accidentally killed by something, and he looked evil and maybe even demonic. I could not make out what I was looking at. After we saw what we saw, we ran out of the house and waited for our parents to come back home, and we tried explaining what we saw. I'll never forget that man's face. Ever since that day when we both experienced our first ghost encounter, we knew it wasn't going to be our last, and it wasn't. And that's their whole post. So I'm gonna go over to their page and see if they have any more updates, because that is really freaking creepy. Okay, so they have another post. It's titled Astral Projection. So let's read that one. As some of you may know, I used to live in a house that was full of paranormal activity. Not like regular ghost stories. I've encountered a lot of crazy experiences. Just to remind some of you, the street that I used to live on was on top of an old broken down cemetery. I was around 6 or 7 at the time, and I just got home from school with my older brother. Usually, when my brother and I return home from school, we just kick back in the living room and watch TV, or we play on our Nintendo 64. That was at least what I thought we were going to do that day. I was in the middle of watching TV, and I randomly shut my eyes for a split second. It felt like I was falling asleep. When I woke up out of it, the TV was still on. I looked around the living room for my brother to see only he was gone. After I realized no one was there, I got up and I went to the kitchen to get some cereal. Now, when I got my cereal, I noticed something was really off because it was way too quiet in the whole house, as if I was the only one home. I finished my cereal and I went searching around the house calling for my brother. I didn't get an answer, so I tried calling out again. I asked, "Where did you go?" Walking towards the hallway, leading to all of the other bedrooms and bathrooms. Just to remind you, I just got out of school, so it was about 4 p.m. and it was really sunny out. I tried turning on the hallway light and it didn't work. Then I started thinking to myself, and I realized that there was another switch to turn on, so I walked up to it and I tried to switch it on. Still, didn't work. Now at this point, I started to get a little worked up, and I wondered where the hell my brother was. I continued to walk down the long, dark, creepy hallway, and now at this point, I felt like I started to hallucinate and see dark shadows and objects moving out of the corner of my eye by the bedroom doors. I asked myself, am I sleeping? While attempting to enter my parents' room. I calmly started calling out for my brother, and I looked inside my parents' room to see a kid hiding behind the bed. I shoved the door wide open and I screamed out that I saw him, and I knew he was just trying to scare me. The so-called kid that I thought was my brother was peeking out from behind the bed and tried to hide a little better. I started to charge right at him, and I looked behind the bed, and there was nothing there. I ran to the closet and I got scared, which honestly was the dumbest thing anyone could possibly do. And within a blink of an eye, I ended up inside my grandmother's room. What just happened? I thought to myself. And I stepped out of the closet, rushing to the door. Right before I walked out of my grandmother's room that always creeped me out, I saw a tall, old farmer man standing in the corner of the room. This time, when I saw him, I could see his face. He was still dressed in bloody overalls with his arm completely blown off, with his mouth open and blood gushing out of his mouth. And the smell he gave off was horrendous. It smelled like I was in a room with a dead animal. Then I snapped out of it, and right when I opened the bedroom door, which would lead back to the hallway, I ended up in the bathroom. I started crying out of frustration and confusion, and I turned around to open the bathroom door, and the room around me started caving in with darkness, and I woke up on the couch in the living room crying. My brother asked me if I was okay and crying in my sleep. I looked around in confusion to see the TV on, and it was still bright outside. The first question I asked my brother was what time it was, and he told me it was 4:10. I had only been asleep for 10 minutes. Then I continued sobbing, and I started telling my brother about the craziest dream that I ever have. I don't know if it was a dream though. And that's how they ended their story. That is so freaking creepy. Holy crap. I hate that so much. Oh my God, I'm so sorry you experienced that. I have mentioned multiple times that I'm so terrified of anything to do with like sleep. Being in like sleep paralysis or having like lucid dreams or dreams like that is just so terrifying because it's just another world. Like you're in a different freaking dimension. It is freaking creepy. So thank you so much for allowing me to read that story. That story was really freaking creepy. And the fact that you saw the farmer man awake and when you were asleep is really, really scary. So I'm curious, have you ever seen him again? Have you ever had any other experiences? Because I would love to hear more of your stories. So I'm going to read one more story. This one's a short one. This is from the ghost story section. It is from the Reddit author Steve Carr, and it's titled My Ghost Story. Back in 2020, I was working security for an amusement park. When I started working there, I was told by a couple coworkers that a specific building on the site was haunted. One night in August, I decided to go to the building and start recording to try to talk to it, if something was even there. I went up the stairs to go to the theater area, which was just a big, creaky wooden floor, dark room with a stage in front of it. It was always hot and was never used during the day. As I was investigating and talking, I got nothing and never really heard anything conclusive. When I went to turn and leave, which I went the same way that I came in, I heard the sound of running water. It was loud enough that I could hear it when I walked by it, but not when I walked by it the first time, unless it was never on when I walked by. I walked closer to it and the men's bathroom sink was now running. Now I only had a flashlight with me and I started to think that maybe someone was with me. I slowly turned to the corner and I saw the sink is running at full blast. The knobs took forever to turn off, and when I shut off the sink and walked out, I never went back. I'm not sure what happened that night, but every time I watch the video back, I get chills. So they have a video of it. I wish they posted the video because that would be really interesting. But like you're alone in a building, you know you're alone in a building, and then all of a sudden a sink turns on. That's really creepy. So maybe you weren't alone, maybe there was someone in there just messing with you, but maybe it was paranormal, you never know. But that's really freaking creepy. Thank you so much for allowing me to read your story. So this is where I'm going to end the video because we are already at the 17-minute mark and I need to edit this and post it. So I'm sorry that I've been away for a couple of days. I know I said that I'm gonna try to post every like second day, but the video that I originally have ready to go is waiting approval from the brand that I'm working with. So I haven't been able to post it. So I'm gonna post this one tonight and hopefully in 2 days, they will have approved my video and I can post it. If not, I will try to film on the weekend and get more content up for you guys. So thank you so much for watching this video. If you guys made it to the end of the video, please leave me your favorite Halloween emoji. I know Halloween is over, but we are a Halloween channel. So leave me your favorite Halloween emoji in the comments down below. If you want to talk about anything in my comment section, please feel free to leave me a comment. It really helps boost my channel on the algorithm and get more eyes on my channel, and it helps me a lot as a creator. So if you guys want to engage with my video, please give it a big thumbs up. Please comment on it. Please do anything possible that you guys can think of to help boost my video. And thank you so much for watching. If you guys have any scary stories that you want to share with the channel, please feel free to message me either on Instagram or my email. Everything is listed down below in a pinned comment, and I will see you guys at the next video. Bye.